Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
BTW FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an adjustable implant, 68 milligrams radio pain. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, new details in the National Guard shooting. There was some new footage where you see the guy essentially laying in wait, stalking the area, and then he opens fire. According also to the Justice Department, right before the Afghan who opened fire on those two National Guards troops in D.C., he shouted, Allah Akbar, and then opens fire. So I would say, yeah, it's a public statement. It's terrorism related. You think about all the 9/11 hijackers. A lot of them shouted Allah Akbar too, right before they downed the planes. So there's a lot of things here that certainly the more we hear about it, the more disturbing it is that this guy was not vetted, was in our country. And thank goodness today he has at least faced some charges, serious ones, including murder. And many more will be coming. And let's pray that that second guardsman, that is Guardsman Wolf from West Virginia, let's pray that he survives. He appears to be doing better. Thank goodness. Obviously, our hearts break for Sarah Beckstrom and her family. So many details tonight. And meantime, President Trump, in his cabinet meeting today, his 9th one, he truly is turbocharged. I mean, going around the room, fluidly talking about all these different issues, having all of his key members in there talking about their successes, America's successes. And of course, the reporters were joking with him, saying, you know what, I want to hear about your reports of your MRI. It wasn't like, hey, you've done a great job with this. You brought gas prices down. No, it's like, are you sure you're healthy to serve? I don't remember these kind of questions going to Joe Biden, which is why it's so incredible that President Trump has to deal with this. But here it is. Here is President Trump. And he slammed back at reporters and said, don't worry about it. My faculties are all there.
But they said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person. Who was the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one. Because when you get into the mid-questions, meaning, 10, question number 10, 11, 12, 28, 30, they get harder and harder. And they said, would you like to do it? I said, well, no reason to do it. Nobody's ever done it. I'll do it maybe, but there's really no reason. They said, sir, the problem is this is Walter Reed Hospital. And that's a military hospital. And that means that things are, sort of open. It's not like private where you have, if you do poorly, we'll have to, probably you'll find out. I said, I won't do poorly. I'm a smart person, not a stupid person. And as the doctor will tell you, I aced it. Right, Susie? I aced. I got every question right.
I believe it. I mean, every day is like a cognitive test for this guy. And I told you, I've been there. I've seen him in the Oval Office. I've seen him in action. What you guys saw today in the cabinet meeting is what it's like every day, every minute, almost in the Oval Office. Someone's coming in saying, hey, I met with Putin. This is what happened. I'm dealing with Venezuela. This is what happened. I'm dealing with this issue. This is what happened. This is what different staff members are doing 24/7 with this man. So every day is a cognitive test, and he is sharp as a tack. There is no doubt about it. But where was the media during Sleepy Joe Biden? What, now they're suddenly waking up when it's President Trump? The hypocrisy is ripe. And also it comes to all these details about the boat strike. And this came from a Washington Post report where they first said that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, was the person who ordered a second strike on a boat and said when there were survivors, kill them all. And so many Democrats are coming out tonight and saying that is a war crime, that if you have somebody who is surrendering, not opening fire on you, and then you order kill them, that is a war crime. Well, Pete Hegseth today said that's not the case, that the target was the boat. And a lot of things happen in the fog of war that when you see the boat still on fire, but there's still some part of the boat, that is fair game. And that isn't a war crime. But they're trying to create it. And we'll see where this goes. But here is President Trump, because President Trump says he's not backing away from these attacks on these narco-terrorist boats off the coast of Venezuela or elsewhere. In fact, he says he's going to step them up because he says he has reduced maritime drug traffic by about 91%. I'd say that's something to brag about because the drugs were headed here to the United States, with about 100,000 American lives lost every year due to fentanyl alone. So I'm sorry, I'm not really having a hard time feeling sorry for the narco terrorists on the boat that got taken out with the boat that was carrying drugs. So here is President Trump not backing down 1 inch when reporters kept hammering him about this particular incident on September 2nd.
To me, it was an attack. It wasn't 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. Somebody asked me a question about the second strike. I didn't know about the second strike. I didn't know anything about people. I wasn't involved in it. I knew they took out a boat. But I would say this, they had a strike. I hear the gentleman that was in charge of that is extraordinary. He's an extraordinary person. I'll let Pete speak about him. But Pete was satisfied. Pete didn't know about second attack having to do with 2 people. I guess Pete would have to speak to it. I can say this. I want those boats taken out. And if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on sea. And there's very little coming in by sea. I think we've knocked out over 90% of it. There's very little, and I understand that. There's very little. We're saving hundreds of thousands of lives with those pinpoint attacks. It's an amazing thing when you see a boat going along. And, a lot of the press would like to say they're not. You see the boat. They're not maybe drugs. You see these boats. First of all, who has 5 engines on the back of a boat going in weird directions and loaded up with lots of white containers? They're bags or things.
And then one of the objects they took out was a submarine. I mean, are you kidding me? They saw a submarine. So what is that? A fisherman who just happens to be in the area? Just happens to be there in an area with sonar and radar and all that stuff. But I guess he's just a nice, sweet little fisherman, right? So here is Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense, right? And he's in the cabinet meeting. And so you just heard what President Trump said. He didn't know about the second strike, nor did Pete on that same boat. And here's what Pete Hegseth said unwaveringly, that he stands by the admiral who took the second strike, and he says it was the right decision to make.
So the president had the courage to designate these cartels as designated terrorist organizations. Now, a number of us here served in the military and spent 20 years fighting terrorists like Al-Qaeda and ISIS on the other side of the world. How do you treat Al-Qaeda and ISIS? Do you arrest them and treat them, pat them on the head and say, don't do that again? Or do you end the problem directly by taking a lethal, kinetic approach? And that's the way President Trump has authorized the War Department to look at these cartels. And I wish everybody could be in the room watching our professionals like Mitch Bradley, Admiral Mitch Bradley, and others at JSOC and SOCOM and other commanders. The deliberative process, the detail, the rigorous, the intel, the legal, the evidence-based way that we're able to, with sources and methods that we can't reveal here, that make sure that every one of those drug boats is tied to a designated terrorist organization. We know who's on it, what they're doing, what they're carrying. All these white bales are not Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on 4-motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes as you would, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that, a lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do, and by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
Bravo to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Say he stands by the Admiral, as you just heard, Admiral Bradley. Admiral Bradley, by the way, is supposed to testify on Capitol Hill behind closed doors. He's supposed to do a classified briefing. So if he consistently says what Pete Hegseth is saying, where's the problem? Pete Hegseth wasn't even there. And Admiral Bradley, if he thought that the boat was still a threat, or that like maybe drug dealers were going to pick up the boat or continue on or do something, you're allowed to take out the rest of the boat. And if there's other people that happen to be there still attached to the boat, so be it. But it seems like Democrats are now crying foul and saying, oh, it's a war crime. Where were they when Joe Biden, remember after the dismal Afghanistan withdrawal and that suicide bomber exploded by Abbey Gate, killing more than a dozen of our servicemen and women. And then soon afterwards, Joe Biden said, oh, I got the guy. I got the person responsible, because he was so desperate to look like he got somebody responsible. And what happened? They went after a car, and it turned out to be like a peace worker and his family. It was like a family of 10. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear the Democrats saying Joe Biden should be charged with war crimes at that point, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it was the wrong hit. Clearly, it was like a carload with kids. So, that's clearly an issue, but I didn't hear war crimes there. What about also Obama, as I mentioned? He took out a wedding in Afghanistan because he believed that there were Taliban fighters there. I assume at weddings that women and children are invited, and not just Taliban fighters, and not just only Taliban at the wedding. So I'm sure there were, quote, some collateral damages, and I didn't hear anybody complaining then. So shame on these people for complaining now when it's narco-terrorists, drug boats with definitely, lethal drugs in their capacity. And they're upset that the boat gets a second strike and it took out a nice, sweet drug lord. That's an incredible moment. And that shows how low the Democrats have sunk. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Jim in Syosset on line 3. Go ahead, Jim. Your thoughts tonight.
Yes, Rita. I'd like to talk about that boat also, about the narc boat that our military took out. Is it just me, Rita, or isn't it obvious? Isn't it so pathetic that the Democrat Party is desperately looking for something to Trump to do wrong? The 10, 11 months that he's been in office, the multitude of things that he's done is so great. The more he stays in office, the more bad they look, the more pathetic they look. So it's like, hey, we could call this a war crime. Here's something that he did wrong. Is it just me, or isn't it obvious that they're trying to find something to pin on, hang on him, that he's doing something wrong?
Yeah, it is. It is. They're so desperate to do anything that they think, oh, here's a war crime, here's a this, here's a that, this really is an extraordinary moment. And it just shows, like you said, they're on a fishing expedition. But they always were on a fishing expedition. That's why, all of those cases, essentially, most of them were all thrown out. because they were just so blatantly on a fishing expedition. There were people overreaching within their authorities. There were so many issues with that. And, judges saw that. The government saw that. And now this is like round, I don't even want to say round 2, because I feel like Trump has been through round 1 through 20. This is maybe round 21. But you know the thing, Jim, as we talk about, and that's why this Tennessee election tonight was a biggie, the special election, because the midterms are coming up next year. And next year, as we know, is next month, guys. It's right around the corner. And so that's why everything is going to be on the line. If they get the House, they will impeach President Trump. I bet you within a few days. They're so desperate that cane wagger Al Green is going to, not the singer, but the congressman. He's going to be out there trying to do whatever he can. And they'll try to do anything just to gridlock, block Trump. That's what this is all about. It's never been about principle. It's been about blocking Trump, no matter how absurd, how crazy it is. And you hit it on the head, Jim. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue when we come back.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You don't technically need this car. You say that out loud to yourself. You say, I have no space. You say, I'm just looking. Then you click. Then you zoom in on photo number 87 and whisper, oh no. Then you text a friend, the one who always enables you. You say to yourself, this is the last one, knowing it is not. You don't need this car. But maybe, just maybe, this car needs you. Bring a trailer. It's never just a car.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
BTW FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an adjustral implant, 68 milligrams radiopaque. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls. Let's go to Ephraim in Rockland County. Ephraim, your thoughts tonight?
Yes, I was thinking about the where they blocked entrance to a synagogue.
Absolutely, which is horrible. That protest, and the synagogue belongs to Rabbi Schneier, who's one of the, very, very famous Holocaust survivor. So what are your thoughts about that?
One of your hosts mentioned something, and I looked it up. If that has been an abortion clinic that they were blocking entrance to, the second offense is a felony, a federal felony.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And that could be, there are a lot of reasons. I mean, first off, you cannot impede worship. People have a right to have, even from a civil rights. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of layers. This is I believe it's a civil rights violation. People have a right to express freedom and do it freely, unimpeded.
Why was no one charged with a federal felony?
Yeah.
Or a federal offense?
I agree. And in fact, what I need to do is talk to some of my folks in the federal government and find out exactly why not, because they should be throwing the book at these people. And it really is quite extraordinary. Also, the NYPD did arrest some people that were blocking ICE, remember, from getting out. But they should be arresting people at the synagogue. And you're right, there could be some federal ones, which would obviously stiffen the penalties and the severities. And I think they're going to have to get tough, especially once Mondani comes in. If he allows these protests to happen and allows them to cross the line, it's going to be trouble.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I use Shipt same-day delivery to stay connected with my sister during the holidays. She lives across the country. Shipt has tons of stores to order from. Groceries from Albertsons, crafts from Michael's, even pet supplies from PetSmart. The list goes on. So when we have long-distance movie nights, I turn to Shipt to get face masks, snacks, and everything else we need delivered to her and to me same day. Download the app or visit Shipt.com. That's SHIPT.com.
Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... There, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes.
Grabbing the holidays by the boughs with Duluth. Step 1. Hire a mall Santa to handle snow removal.
Ho, ho, ho! My sciatica.
Step 2. Hit Duluth Trading and load up on fire hose pants, buck naked underwear, pocket pack bibs, free swinging flannel, and all kinds of ingenious gear you won't find anywhere else. Grab the holidays by the boughs and shop Duluth Trading. Online and in store.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Rita Cosby is on. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, Los Angeles County, the very progressive Los Angeles County, has voted today, get this, their Board of Supervisors to ban masks on ICE agents, saying that it extends to all law enforcement officials and that they should not be able to hide behind masks. This is incredible because, of course, the Department of Homeland Security is saying the reason they have masks on is because they're being doxxed. They're getting violent threats. They're getting a whole bunch of things. You see it all over the videotapes all over the country. And they need to do that to protect their families and themselves. It also comes as ICE law enforcement officers have faced a more than 1,100% increase in assaults and an 8,000% increase in death threats. And now these sanctuary city politicians in Los Angeles County seem desperate to try to see that they can make their jobs even more difficult. Needless to say, it will be challenged, I'm sure, in court. Meantime, also, we're talking about what's going on in Somalia, where it looks like some of the money from Minnesota, taxpayer money, ended up with the terrorist group there, Al-Shabaab. And so Tim Walz, who is indeed the governor there, Tampon Tim Walz, right, as he is called, well, he's defending the Somalians, saying, I don't know what they're talking about. This is all politically charged. And listen to actually the police chief, who, of course, serves at the pleasure of the governor. And this is what he had to say. He is now taking the side of the Somalians, saying, don't worry, if ICE comes, you should call the cops. We'll protect you. I mean, this is getting crazy. Listen to this one.
Folks that are masked, that they're not sure if they're law enforcement, that they may be kidnapping people. Like, we have had those reports. I want to be clear to the community. The community should know that if you see something like that, that is legitimate, that you don't know if someone is law enforcement, you should call 911. And you should provide as much information as possible, because let's not forget, We very recently had tragedy in this state by someone who was purporting to be law enforcement. So please, let's be clear. That's something everyone should report, and that we will immediately respond to, and we will document, whether it's somebody's not sure if there's a kidnapping happening, somebody's not sure if that there's law enforcement present or not. And that's something else that's additional policy requirements that we are implementing, that we will document and report these types of things anytime that we hear it, and reminding our officers of their duty to intervene. So if there is anything that is, a violation of someone's human rights or civil rights, excessive force or anything like that, they absolutely have a duty to intervene as police officers.
So they're all out there to kidnap people. They're all dressing up like it's Halloween, like they're ICE, and they're the bad guys. I mean, this is so crazy, and it fits as we're talking about the seditious six, because these are the Democrats. Remember, we talked about these last week, and I find it no coincidence that they're the ones who are going after the strike on the Venezuelan narco boat, saying, oh, it's so terrible. This is a war crime. The military never should have done this. The military should stand down and not strike these beautiful, wonderful, sweet drug lords. Well, remember last week when they put out this ad? This is 4 House members, all Democrats, and 2 senators, Democrats, including Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin. And they were telling the military to stand down and they'd have their back. I find it no coincidence. All this now comes with all this stuff about the strike that took place on the Venezuelan boat in September, that the media was just asking constant questions today during the cabinet meeting for President Trump. Here's that ad again.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly. Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
That's amazing. And so now Congress and the FBI want to talk to these members of Congress. It's an appropriate thing. To me, it really borders on inspiring treason, sedition, creating a coup within this country. And this guy, this is Chris DeLuzio. He's a Democrat of Pennsylvania. He said he's not going to listen to the FBI. He's not only telling the military to defy orders, he's saying he doesn't need to go for a voluntary interview with the FBI, even though he is a sitting member of Congress. I had to play this clip because it's just unbelievable. Here he is on CNN. Listen to this.
Now, it didn't take long, Congressman. After these shootings, people did start posting online criticizing you and the 5 other Democratic members of Congress for posting your video, suggesting that it may somehow have put a target on the National Guardsmen's backs. Now, I know you didn't mention any specific orders in the video, but some critics of the president have suggested that National Guard deployments around the country, broadly speaking, are not always legal. So I wanted to give you a chance to respond to some of this criticism, which I'm sure you've already seen.
Yeah, it's just crazy stuff, outrageous stuff. I mean, it's been, a half hour since we've even learned any basic facts about the alleged shooter here. Dangerous rhetoric. And let's be clear, the only threats and calls for violence came from the president and his supporters after he called for our arrest, our death by hanging. That's where the calls for violence have come from the most powerful man in the country who has more power and more responsibility than anyone else, to condemn these calls for political violence, to bring the temperature down. I hope the president will do that. I hope those around him will do it. The country doesn't need any more of this. They don't need these calls for political prosecutions. They don't need these calls for violence. It's a dangerous time and a dark time, but I will tell you, what I hear from folks back home in Pennsylvania is they've had enough. They've had enough of these calls for violence. They've had enough of targeting of political opponents by this president or people around him. They've really had enough of it.
Have you been contacted by the FBI as part of their now investigation into the six of you?
Well, and that's been reported now, I think, since yesterday, right, that the FBI wants to ask me and the other members of Congress I serve with for voluntary interviews. As I said when this news broke, it's a clear attempt to intimidate us as members of Congress, to try to deter us from criticizing the president, my goodness. And remember, the thing that we said, a basic foundational truth about our Constitution, about the oath we all take, it's something that you learn whether you go to boot camp, that I learned as a plebe at the Naval Academy, that commanders and the JAG lawyers around them train troops on. Is the Justice Department and the FBI and Donald Trump going to go investigate everyone who trains their troops on what orders they have to follow? It's outrageous, and it tells you how outrageous it is.
What contact has there been from the FBI so far?
I'll leave that to defer that over to the FBI, but what's been reported out there is they've tried to contact me and the other members for voluntary interviews.
Do you plan on cooperating?
I'm not planning to sit down for a voluntary interview, no.
Oh, why not?
Well, look, everyone in this country has a right to refuse to do that, and I think this is a clear attempt to intimidate us. I'm a member of Congress. In the Article 1 of our Constitution, I have the president and his Justice Department and FBI trying to intimidate and silence his perceived rivals who stated the law. Remember, stated the law. The thing that we said, that our oath to the Constitution comes first, that no service members can ever be required to follow illegal orders, is something you learn your first day in the military and train throughout your time in uniform. And the president's response is to call for our arrest and death. And the fact that you now have Republican elected officials speaking up, saying this is out of bounds, saying enough is enough, it tells you something about how outrageous this really is.
Unbelievable. I'm not going to go. I think this is political. Can you imagine a member of Congress first telling military members to defy and then saying, I'm not going to show up for a voluntary interview with the FBI because this is politically charged? I mean, on so many levels, it is so wrong. Like, the rules do not apply to them. That is stunning. Absolutely stunning. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Mike on the Lower East Side, line 4. Go ahead, Mike. Your thoughts tonight.
How you doing, Rita? Yeah, under maritime law, if a government vessel, which a Coast Guard helicopter is, if it fires over their bow, and it did, because I see a few of the videos, and the cannons were firing over their bow into the water. I mean, you could hear it, and they could see it. And if they're not compliant, the government vessels are allowed to take them out. You know, and there is a maritime law. There's a maritime courts. So they need to, get their act together, because the Coast Guard's got every right to stop it. Plus, they're in the line of fire. They could turn around and take the helicopter down. So they got to act quick. They got to, if they're not compliant, they got to just take them out, because what's to say they don't shoot the helicopter down?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, President Trump declared these groups, these cartels, foreign terrorist organizations. So that's essentially the same category as Al-Qaeda. So if you see a boat of Al-Qaeda or ISIS headed toward your shores, you have the right to take it out. You have the right, they're a terrorist organization. Are you kidding? You're not allowed to do it. So you have to look at it this way. Why are the Democrats, for some reason, Mike, treating these people like they're Mother Teresa on a little, puddle boat? I mean, that's what's incredible. One of them had a submarine. I mean, what, they want us to think that they're just out there like the old man in the sea?
I know, Rita.
Isn't it amazing, Mike? I mean, what is it? Why are the Democrats saying that? I mean, is it just because it's Trump derangement syndrome?
Rita, they want to make it bad for America. They want to take America down. They're not giving up, and we got to we got to push it back harder, and Trump is 100%. I don't care what they say about the guy. He's the best president that we ever had. He's almost like George Washington. This guy is the best.
Yeah, and he is also sharp as a tack. And Mike, I'm glad you talked about those warning signs too, because that's right. When you give those warning signs and they say, what's coming. By the way, they know darn well about all these other boats. There's been 21 boats that have been taken out. When the first one was taken out, everybody knew the headlines. It's not like a secret. So they know what's happening. They see the U.S. military. They know the deal. And if you're not surrendering and you're not stopping, guess what? You are a target. Let's go to Liz in Florida. Great points by Mike there. Go ahead, Liz.
Hi, Rita. Every day, Rita, listening to the news is like a horror movie or a very bad dream. I just want to close my eyes, and when I open them, it's all over.
Yeah, and by the way, it is. And I'm sad to say in New York City, starting on January 1st, it's about to get a lot worse, Liz, and that's my fear.
I agree. This man, our president is my hero. There's nothing he can't do. He came into office. He had to fix all of Biden and Obama's intentionally harmful executions on America. So President Trump is really smart, and he's constantly being attacked by the left. And all he wants to do is protect Americans and remove all the terrorists from our country. It's a no-brainer, right? The Democrats are not mentally well. There should be a new law that they all need to take cognitive tests before taking office. And if they fail, they need to be removed from office.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Liz. Sadly, Dianne Feinstein, God rest her soul. And Dianne Feinstein, I met Dianne Feinstein. I remember when I first went to Washington. And she'd been around for a long, long time. But it got to the point where they were literally wheeling her and saying, you want to vote yes on this? You want to vote no on this? I mean, like you could almost hear the aides saying that. She was up there so much in age. And clearly she wouldn't have passed a cognitive test where she had to respond within X amount of time to be. And the issues are so big. Joe Biden wouldn't have passed a cognitive test. I think everybody on Capitol Hill, and I think everybody from the president into the cabinet levels, all of the key positions, every one of them, I think every 6 months or something like that has to take a test. Because maybe they even have, even if they're young, maybe they just can't handle the stress. They can't. You look at Barack Obama. Remember, Liz, when he got out of the White House? I mean, he was sharp. He definitely would pass a cognitive test. But he was all gray. I mean, he looked like a different man than when he walked in. He was like Mr. Basketball player on the way in, on the way out. He looked like he was ready for a senior citizen home because the stress of being the president could also get to you. So I think people handle stress differently, handle situations differently. And I think everybody, whatever side of the aisle, I think it's a very, very smart decision. Liz, thank you very much. Everybody, we're going to continue your calls after the break. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And everybody, this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a powerful story from Arcadia, California, where Joe Pepe Sciarra, a 100-year-old World War II veteran, was speaking to students at Holy Angels School. And just to give you a little bit of background about him, during the talk with these students, he said he was a short kid who just graduated from high school in 1943 when he was drafted to serve in the U.S. Army during World War II. Eventually, he was assigned to a heavy weapons platoon, often carrying hundreds of pounds of weapons and equipment. He was involved in many battles in the Philippines. And at only 20 years old, he attained the rank of platoon sergeant. And he was also awarded the Bronze Star for his courage. And how beautiful that students were hearing about his incredible courage and learning about heroes living among us. And of course, you know how much I love members of the greatest generation and their families. And everybody, help America's heroes because they need your help. All it takes is just $11 a month to make an incredible difference with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Be sure to check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's 77 soccer. Smaller the pitch, faster the action. The world's elite soccer clubs compete for their share of a massive $5 million prize. Catch World Sevens on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max December 5th through the 7th.
And now a message from McAfee.
Your package couldn't be delivered.
You owe thousands in unpaid tolls.
You want a free gift.
If texts like these sound familiar, McAfee can help. McAfee automatically identifies text and email scams as well as AI-generated audio to help you stay safe. If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Jay Kelly, the new film from Academy Award nominee Noah Baumbach. George Clooney stars as an actor confronting his past and present on a journey of self-discovery, alongside Adam Sandler as his devoted manager. Critics are calling it a declaration of love to the chaotic art of filmmaking, with the Wall Street Journal praising it as a transcendent comedy drama. Watch Jay Kelly December 5th, only on Netflix.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls here on the Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Philip in Northport, New York. Go ahead, Phil. Your thoughts tonight.
Yes, hello. Hello, Rita. You have a wonderful show, and I really appreciate the fact that we can do different topics and how you handle them. The Afghan killer, when I hear the talking heads and media saying, oh, it's just one episode, it's just one off or two offs. What about this idea of child brides for these Afghan men? How many Afghan men brought into this country with their 13-year-old brides? Was that ever looked at?
Yeah, by the way, you bring up a good point, because there were a lot of reports. I remember that of some of these guys bringing in people that could be younger than their daughter. And you're right. I don't think that was looked at. And also, how many others are like this guy, by the way, that have this violent proclivity too as well? And you're right. You have to wonder the other two. Is that human trafficking? I mean, there are just so many issues here. And this isn't even just a one-off, even as far as we know. There was another one, remember, that was responsible for opening fire on individuals in Oklahoma. There was another different Afghan that was also responsible for opening fire on law enforcement in Virginia. So these are just a handful, but there's a lot of them. And you're right. You want a guy who brought in a 12-year-old and a couple 12-year-olds and said, oh, yeah, they're my wives. I swear, I'm changing their diapers too. I mean, you're right. There are a lot of things that are not compatible with the way that we work here in America. That's a great point, Phil. Thank you very much. And let's go real quick to Joaquin on line 5. Joaquin, boy, oh boy, you just have a few seconds.
I know. All right. You know something? When it comes down to these ICE raids, they should not be allowed to have any kind of victory in blocking or stopping any of these ICE raids. If I was in charge of it, I would have a plan. I would have reinforcements sitting there with buses to arrest all these people and haul them away.
Yep, I agree. They should be standing by, and I think they're going to need them because they seem to be stepping up.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here? Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. Moving in the same direction and doing it united, then the movement forward is always so much more powerful.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.